Today, we're going to talk about this idea of like extremism, right? Because for me, I'm actually like the definition of extremist. Like I'm the type of person that I'm like all in or I'm all out. So back when I was partying and drinking all the time, it was like I was all in all of the time. So when I was going out, I was like going out to the bars late night, every night, like 5 or 6 times a week. I was the type of person that was having like so much fun with my friends, and I was so all in with that fun that I didn't even know what a gym was at the time. Like I just like completely forgot about my goals. And I just didn't really care, to be completely honest. Like I was so far on like one end of the extreme, which was like, don't care about my goals, hashtag I'm going to live my life, that I just didn't even work out. I didn't work on my business. So that's like me as an extremist, as in like I'm working super hard. And on the other end of the spectrum, we've got this like, once I got clean and sober, I just literally just went from like this side of the spectrum all the way back to the other side. And it was like, there was no middle ground for me. I got clean and sober, and I was like, okay, now I'm going to stay in for every single weekend. I'm never going out. I'm not going to go out to drink. I'm not going to have fun and party. I'm 100% committed to growing my business. And like, don't get me wrong. Like, I definitely think that that's one of the characteristics that's led to success. But I'm just curious, how many online coaches here have felt burnt out or overwhelmed? Burnt out, overwhelmed, overworked. Because I think that when we start working on our online fitness business, it starts to get really exciting, and it's almost like we want to put more work in, and we want to grind, and we want to grow, and we want like that, like passion's alive. But over time, for me, like it always leads to burnout. I literally have this conversation with myself like once every 6 months. This isn't a joke. But over time, it leads to burnout. I get to the point where I'm like, oh my God, looking at my computer stressing me out because I feel like I can't catch up with all my work. And it's like, oh, I don't want to work on my business now because I worked on it for so long. And it's just like, now I like need to take a break. So it's like, I'm either on one end of the spectrum or the other. And so for me, what I'm learning is like discipline requires balance. Discipline requires balance. So what does balance actually mean? Like when we're growing our fitness business, what is balance? Balance for me means that I'm in alignment. Now, when we are out of balance, like for me, when I'm out of balance, it's usually because I'm hyper-focused on one area of my life, and then the other areas of my life end up suffering as a result. And so let's take fitness as an example. Approaching your fitness goals is super important. But for me, back when I was like getting clean and sober, I would restrict myself from like going out to see my friends, and I would stop myself from going out to like social gatherings because I didn't want to focus on anything that didn't help me look better. I was so obsessed with my fitness goals that I wouldn't eat anything that was outside of my meal prep containers. And I wouldn't go out to any bars that my friends were hanging out at. And I just wouldn't go to social gatherings because I was like, anything that causes me not to look my best is something that I'm not interested in. And like, let's talk about like goal setting. Like, sure, like if you have a fitness goal, like that might be important for your fitness goal, but like that's not balanced and it's not long-term. And you're not going to cut out your friends for the rest of your life. So how are you going to maintain this when this like extremist mindset comes to an end? Usually a lot of people, well, they don't maintain it. It's like, as soon as they like get too sick of being disciplined, they float right back to the other end of the spectrum. They press the fuck it button. And now they're like right back to where they started. We see a lot of this in our fitness clients, to be honest. Like a lot of our fitness clients will come to us. They'll want to start a transformation journey. They'll want to lose weight. And so they like dedicate all in restrictive lifestyle. And then at some point they just get sick of it, or they just want to reward themselves. And in that reward is usually where they're like, oh, they press the reward button once and then their discipline slips and then they're right back to where they started. Guys, it's the exact same thing when we're approaching our business, right? If you're an online coach right now and you're having a hard time turning it off, like this episode is literally for you. Guys, there's points and times where I'll be so extreme with my business that sometimes I'll get like 5 to 6 hours of sleep because I'm obsessed. It's like all I talk about. It's all I think about. It's like everything I'm doing when I'm moving. I literally sometimes can't even turn my brain off, and it stresses me out. It like overwhelms me. And this is like where it gets extreme, where you're like done work. And like for me, it's like I'll be hanging out with Kirst or I'll be hanging out with my friends. And it's like all I can think about is like working on my business. Does this make sense? But this is out of alignment. Like, when I think about the areas of my life that mean a lot to me, it's like my relationship with Kirsten, my friend group, and my fitness goals, and my wealth goals. Like there's like a bunch of different areas of my life that I value, But if I'm so obsessively focused on one of them, I'm out of balance. And if I'm out of balance, I'm out of alignment. And if I'm out of alignment, then even when I'm working on my business, which is the thing that I'm the most passionate about, even when I'm working on my business, I'm not able to give it my best because I'm out of alignment. See, balance, which to me means being in alignment, requires discipline. Balance for me means that I'm like very committed to accomplishing my goals, and I'm very committed to doing my absolute best. But I also have to have the discipline and know when to turn it off. This is the thing, you guys. If you're an online business owner right now, the work is literally never done, ever. The work is never done. Like online fitness coach, I want you to think like most of us, what we do in order to stay organized is we make a to-do list and we cross one thing off at a time throughout the day. Like you just do one thing at a time. Do. And at the end of the day, what usually happens, right? Sometimes you turn off, sometimes you don't. But then the next day, what do you have? You have another to-do list. And so that means the work is never actually over. It's not. It doesn't end. And like, yes, that like a downside, of course, but like I'll take this life over working 9 to 5 for somebody else for the rest of my life, like all day, every day, please. Like, God, I'll take this life every day. But what I am saying is there are dark sides to online coaching. And one of the dark sides is that sometimes it's really, really, really hard to turn our brain off, especially when we want to succeed super, super bad, right? Discipline for me in our coaching business means knowing when to say no. And being able to say no to ourselves, like being able to be like, all right, well, Brian, you just worked your ass off for 10 hours. And even though you've got 4 more things you can do, I think it's time that we shut it down because your brain needs a rest. And that's fucking hard. Like if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a hustler, actually telling yourself like, hey man, like Cindy, we've been working super hard, but like, it's time to shut it down. Like, even think about having that conversation with yourself right now. If you had like 6 more things to do, it's hard because then you're like, oh, well, am I going to have to do it tomorrow? Right? In our business, that means this, like you're working your ass off in your business because you want to succeed. And you also need to have the discipline to be able to say no to work and to be able to turn it off on your day off. And it's like, guys, this is the exact same thing in your clients' fitness goals, right? Because a lot of online fitness clients struggle with this idea of discipline. And so how many of you guys have clients where maybe you might say like, okay, cool, I want you to go out and maybe like have a meal this weekend or just like have something a little bit off your meal plan to enjoy it. And your client will go and they'll just eat like 3 full pizzas, or who here has known somebody like this? They'll eat 3 full pizzas. They'll have like a couple pops and they'll have a few beers. And they come back to Monday and they're like, yo, I have no idea why I'm up 7 pounds. It's like, no, I told you to have a meal, not the entire buffet. And so like most people, and even in our fitness goals, like it's either like we're 100% diligent and restrictive or it's a fucking free for all. And so in your fitness goals, this is the exact same thing. Balance requires discipline. Balance means that you can eat 1 cookie without having the entire fucking box. Does this make sense? Balance requires discipline. And online coaches, like, let's go back to your business. Like in your business requires discipline. Like balance requires discipline. And for me, discipline is like knowing when your ass needs to go harder, right? Like sometimes like balance equals discipline means that you're like too far on the side of like chilling, watching Netflix and relaxing, and you're not disciplined enough to like actually, work on your business and see progress. And sometimes balance requires discipline means that you're like so far on the like overworking side of the spectrum that you're working your face off until you're burnt out. And every single night you're like stressed and every morning you wake up anxious. And like, if you're over here, then balance requires discipline means that your ass needs to come a little bit back to the middle and you need to take a little bit of a break. Right. So it's like, we've got on one end of the spectrum working on your business. We've got like, I'm chilling and I'm living my best life. Hashtag I live in Bali. Hashtag all I do is take pictures. And then the other side of the spectrum is all I do is work on my business. I'm on my computer 24/7. It's nonstop. As soon as I wake up, I'm working. As soon as I go to, it's like, that's the other end of the spectrum. Like we need to be balanced if we want to be in alignment. And like, this is a long game. I think that so many online coaches come into this market and they just expect that clients are just going to sign up right away. And when they don't sign up within their first 4 to 8 weeks, they get discouraged. Or a lot of online coaches will come into the market and they'll see a lot of success in their first 2 to 3 months and they'll go super hard and then they'll just take their foot off the gas. And then all of a sudden they lose a couple of clients and they're like, what the hell's going on? Like, this is a long game. The people that are going to be here in 3 to 5 years are the ones that are able to be consistent over time. And consistency over time means that you shouldn't be sprinting every single day without ever realizing that you need to like take a breath. Like if I just started to sprint right now and I never stopped, eventually I would probably die. I don't know. What happens if you sprint too much? Do you die? I don't know if you die or not, but you might die. I might die. You might die. So like in the sprinting analogy, guys, this is your business. It's like short bursts. So like you work your ass off for like 6 to 8 hours or 10 hours, and then you like breathe. And that breath every night, taking your relaxation, taking like some time with your family or your friends or your kids if you have them, that deep breath is where all the magic happens. Right? It's not in the sprint. Like the sprint like plants the seeds, but the breath like gives your business space to actually grow. Balance requires discipline. Both of these things are equally important, right? Like balance requires discipline. They're both equally important. Like I'm not saying that like discipline says like, oh, I can only work on my goals. And like balance says like, oh, I need to like, have other things in my life, but balance requires discipline. So like, yes, you do need to be balanced. And yes, you do need to like take a day off. But also if you're taking 7 days off, then your ass needs a little bit more discipline and you need to come to the middle of the spectrum and start working on your goals a little bit more. And it's about knowing where you are. Like, are you chilling way too fucking much over here? Or are you like so focused on your business that you haven't called your mom in 6 weeks? Right? There's like two ends of the spectrum. So you really need to know where you are. Because for me, like, I think one of the keys to success is just being here like over time. Who here knows Gary Vaynerchuk? Pretty much every single person on this episode knows Gary Vaynerchuk. And the reason we know Gary Vaynerchuk is he's here over time. He's not somebody that goes away. Consistency over time. Guys, balance requires discipline. Sometimes it's time to go hard, and sometimes we need to take a little bit of a chill pill. Does this make sense? It's about being able to have the cookie without